If you've ever had orders or invoices or deals that you're managing inside of Airtable, then you've probably already built out things like junction tables to be able to connect orders to products by way of order lines. But there's a huge problem if you're simply using junction tables, because if you update that pricing, now all of your old orders and invoices and deals, they're going to be inaccurate. All of the old ones are going to refer to the new pricing. Well, how do we better manage that? In this video, we're going to break down 3 different techniques to help mitigate this so that we can have accurate, up-to-date pricing. Hi, I'm Dan Lehman from automationhelpers.com, and we help businesses like yours get automated with portals, apps, and integrations. Okay, so if you don't quite know what I'm talking about, I'm going to show you an example with a really basic order management with a junction table. And this is really common. I've taught this stuff before. Gareth has taught this. Any Airtable creator out there talks about using junction tables whenever you're trying to handle pricing. So let me show you how this works. If we're in a product and I can choose my product here, I'm on my order line and I choose a blue widget, for example, and then I can put in a quantity here and the price automatically is updated because that's pulling from the product table. We have a lookup here and then I can calculate my amount. But if we look at the back end data, look at this price column. This is a lookup from our actual products table and our products have this price. So you can see that the blue widget right now is $50. And we have various different order lines across different orders over time. And you can see any of these ones that are labeled blue widget have $50 here because they're all being looked up from that one spot on the product. Well, here's the problem that happens. If I now raise my prices and I say, the blue widget is now $70 instead of $50, and I come back to my order lines, look at what happens. That lookup, that's updated everywhere. So now the blue widget costs $70, the quantity is staying the same, and therefore it's changing the amounts. And that could change the amounts on invoices and orders that have already closed. So that's the problem that we're talking about. So let's talk about our first solution. And in each of these solutions, there's a little bit of a drawback to it, which is why I'm presenting a couple different ways to manage this. So our easiest solution I'm calling stamping, meaning we're taking the price and we're going to stamp it in, and that price is never going to change again. It's in the record. We have stamped it via an automation. So what does this look like? Well, here on my order lines, notice that I've changed my price. Instead of being a lookup, now this is just a straight currency field, which means you can click into it and change the value of it. We're not going to want to do this manually. We'll still automate it, but it's no longer a lookup. Now, if I scroll over here, I do still have a lookup, and this one I called product price just to differentiate it from the price. This is a lookup. And then I have a field called priced date. Now, I'm just going to put the date that this automation runs so that if you have an order or an invoice and you price it today, but maybe the customer doesn't pay until 2 weeks from now, that you want to know when we actually priced it. And so we are going to update this field in our automation as well. Now, looking at our products table, nothing has changed here. So very little has changed. All we've done is updated our price field to an actual currency instead of a lookup. We still have a lookup for our product price, and we added a date field. So let's go ahead and head into our automations. So we've created an automation called price line item. This is a simple one action, one trigger kind of step. We're saying when the record is updated, and we're running this on the order lines table. Now, the reason we're doing an update here is because when you're adding those line items, when you add it, it initially creates the record. And then when we drop down and choose that product, that's actually doing an update. It's not creating the record for the first time. So we're running this on an update on our order lines table, and then we're specifically watching for the product field. When we choose that product, that's when we're going to have all of this logic run. Next, we're going to add an action to update the record. And here we're going to update the exact same order line record that triggered this in the first place. So to do that, we're going to make sure we have the order lines table again, and then we're going to select the Airtable record ID that came from that initial step. Now the fields here, I want to update the price. Remember, the price is the currency that we're updating. And we're going to insert this dynamically. So if we scroll down, we can find not the price here, but we're looking at the product price, because remember, that's the lookup from the product. So when the product's selected, now we can pull that lookup value. I'm going to click into this, and you can see we've got the length is 1. We just want to choose the value here. So that value is now going to be stamped. We'll take the product price from the lookup, and we're going to stamp it into the currency field here. And then this is where we can choose the actual runtime. This is a little bit of a newer feature. We can press the plus button, we can choose a specific time and choose actual runtime. So that will now update the date as well. So if we're back on our order lines, let's go ahead and test this out. We'll create the record, and now I'm going to choose my product of the blue widget. And once we select that, we can see what happens here. We've got our product price, the lookup, and a couple seconds later, it now updates our price and it puts in that date for us. So here you can see it's the $50 again. Let's try to run this one more time. We'll come into our products and we'll say, okay, let's update that price to $70. Now let's come back over to our order lines. You can see that that has not changed the values here. Those prices all remain the same, even if they're the blue widgets. Now let's go ahead and we'll do the same thing. We'll create a new line item. We'll choose the blue widget. Once we tab off of there, it's going to run our automation again. We can see the new product price value here. We'll stamp it. And you can see that now we're tracking that $70 and it doesn't mess up all of the historic data. So this is the solution I'd recommend to those of you who are just looking for the easy path. You simply want to say, we want to make sure that the pricing is accurate at the point at which we're pricing this, we're invoicing it, we're sending out an order. Then we can see the date and we can see the accurate amount, and we've solved for that problem. But there is an issue that we're not actually tracking the historic amounts. So for your reporting, if you wanted to know for those products that it went from $50 to $60 to $70 and how it changed over time and the different dates that you updated the pricing, if you want all of that historic information, this solution is too simplistic for that. So if you want that kind of more complex solution, that's the next one we're going to talk about. So our second solution is to be able to have a table of all of the different price points for a given product. We've created this new table and I called it product prices. You could call it price log or something else depending on what makes the most sense to you. And in it, I think there's a few fields that you need. One, you need to have a linked record back to the product, and you only want to select one product. You want to have a start date and an end date, so basically effectivity dates of that price. And then you'll be able to have the price. This is just a currency field where you can manually input what that price is. And I should say this solution is also going to be really good if you want to import prices. So if you have an ERP or an e-com solution and you want to update prices in the system, you can easily do that then with a CSV file. We also have order lines, and so we can have a one-to-many relationship. We'll have one product price associated with many order lines. We've got a record ID here. This is just a formula field. If you've watched our videos, you see how often we use this. A formula simply referencing the record ID, and then we'll be able to use this in our automation later on. And then I also have this is active field. Now you could just have a simple checkbox to be able to say, yep, I'm checking this off myself to say whether it is active or not. In my case, I created a formula. And so you can see that I'm basically just saying, if there is a product price that doesn't have an end date, we're considering that one to be is active, just to simplify the process for querying this. You might have your own business logic for that, and that's totally fine. Now we're on our products table. You can see we have this product prices. That's just the inverse relationship of the product that we have on the product prices, so you don't have to add this twice. And then we have something called the active price ID. If we edit this, we can see this is a lookup field. We're looking at our product prices. And what we want to do here is to make sure that we only get one item here. We're only choosing the product price that is actually active. So even though this product is mapped to multiple product prices, right? Because we have our blue widget from January until August, and then we have the new pricing in August. So there's going to be multiple records here. But this active price ID, we want to make sure we limit this to only the last one record. And we want to filter this so we can say only if is active is checked. And that's why we had that field before. So now, even though we have multiple linked records, we only have that single active price ID to say, this is the record you need to go to, which has the information about the current pricing. Next, let's take a look at the order lines table. This price field is really up to you if you want it to be stamped again, like we had in the first solution, or if you want to have a lookup. In this use case, either one of those should be fine. Then we've added some additional fields over here. So I do have a lookup. We have a historical price. This is what we're going to stamp in the automation to say, this is the correct product price record you should use. So we're not doing anything with that quite yet until we get to our automation step. We also have our product price record ID. Now, if we edit this, we can see this is our lookup of that active price ID from the product table. So remember back over on product, we had active price ID that we set up. We only have one of those. And so on our order lines, now we're looking that up. So what's kind of interesting is sometimes in Airtable, it gets a little bit complex. You're actually having multiple hops between tables. And that's exactly what we've done here. So I'm on an order line, which links to a product, and that product then links to the product prices, and that's what this is. So that's why we have this series of multiple hops to get that information so that we have it on our order line so that we can use it in the automation. Now, if that's not complicated enough for you, we have another problem with the automations, which is to say, in automations, when you're dealing with lookups, it treats lookups like an array. Now, if you're not sure what an array is, it's a data type that we have in programming. It's to say it's a collection of things. So it's like a list. You have item 1, comma, item 2, comma, item 3. There's our array, as opposed to a string, which is just text. You know, it's letters and it's numbers, and that's the format it needs to be in the automation. Our automation can't really deal with that array unless we're iterating through a list, which we don't want to do here. So I have this helper field that I built, which is a formula. And if I edit that, I'm basically just saying, hey, if there's a value that's present in this lookup, then we're going to do an array join, which is to say, take any of those elements. We know there's only one element here, but the system doesn't know that. And so we can say, do an array join to take all of those elements and then put them all together in one string. And we're going to use that because we need it in the automation. Okay, so after all of that prep work, we're finally ready to build our automation. This one I titled Update Order Line with Price. So again, the trigger is going to be on the order lines. And then our next step, we need to find records. So we initially triggered this off of the order line, the product being selected. Now we need to find the appropriate product price. So we've got the order line, we know what the product is, but we need to know that pricing information. So I have to retrieve this product price record. And we're going to do that based on a condition. So this is where we'll say, if the record ID being of that product price, if the record ID contains, and then remember all that complicated mumbo jumbo we did to get to our product price ID string. So if those two things match, then that's the one we're going to be able to pull back. And we're just going to put a max record limit of 1 to make sure we only pull 1 back. So I can click just to see what this looks like. And here it found my record and it's got those different values of the product price. And we know that this is active, is true. This is the active product because we did all of that logic through our formulas and lookups on the front end. Now that we have that product price, we're going to update the record. Again, we're going to be updating that original record, that order line. So in the order lines, we're going to use the Airtable record ID from our trigger. And then here we want to update the historical price. This is going to say we are going to point at that correct record so that we can link together the historical price and we can link together the order line. So that's what we're doing here is we're pulling the Airtable record ID from this previous find record step. And then we're also taking the list of price. Let me just delete that out and show you how we do that. So I come in here, I go to my find record step, and then I need to get the prices. So I come to field value and I'm looking for the price here. So that's going to be list of price. So then when we generate a preview, then we should be able to see, well, we won't see the price because we can't do that in the automation, but this should work when we're back in our data here. So let me create a new record again here in my order lines. I'm going to put a blue widget, and then that blue widget should run its automation to find the current price. And you can see that updates it. So my new current price is $52. The previous price was $50. I can edit that if I need to. We shouldn't edit it. We should block it off from humans editing it. But if I need that historic information, now I have that, because in my product prices, we can see blue widget. From these dates, we used to charge $50 and now we charge $52. So I know this was way more complex, but at least now you get that historical pricing information if you want to be able to track and better report that over time. But like I said, for each of these solutions, there's a trade-off. Now the trade-off here is that we're storing this as data, which means if you have 1,000 products and each has 50 price changes, now you have 50,000 records. And because we have record limits in Airtable, that might not be the best solution for you. So you're going to kind of have to think through and think, hey, if I use that many records and we update it this many times, is that going to be a problem for me? If not, this is a great solution. If that is a problem for you, then you're going to want to take a look at our last solution. So our third solution here is to use scripting to store the historic pricing information, but not have a record per each. So what I'm doing is I got rid of that extra table we made. We just have our products table here, and I created a long text field called product prices. Now, some of you might think this is crazy, but sometimes we do crazy things in Airtable just because we can get it to work this way. And so I essentially created JSON, and I said, I want to have an array where we have the price and the if activity dates and the is active, and we set this up this way. Now, I wouldn't have users editing this. Absolutely not. I'd make an interface with an automation to say, have a big button where you update the price and then it's going to update the code for you automatically. So please don't expose something like this to your end users. It'll drive them crazy. You'll have mistakes. Your code will blow up. You don't want to do that. But if this is just happening on the back end, then we can parse it pretty efficiently. So on my order lines table, all I need to do is have this lookup to the product prices, which comes from the products table. And then again, I'm using that priced date if I want it. And then we have our price, which is a currency field. So let's go ahead and take a look at our automations. This is a two-step automation. I'm not going to get too in the weeds with the details, but same thing as always. We can say when our order line is updated, when that field is updated, we're watching that product field. Then we're going to run a script. And in all honesty, I wrote this with ChatGPT and it was pretty quick and pretty easy. Basically, all I was saying is, hey, we want to go ahead and take the values that we have. Let me head back over to my data and my products. Yeah, so we've got our product prices here. And I said, we know this JSON we have as a lookup. And so we want to find the record where is active is true. So it finds this one in the array. And then it's pulling those values back to then say, take that price and stamp it as our new price, take those dates, do whatever you got to do, right? So we can always interact with that data, and we can do that with scripting. So I know this video was probably really technical and sounded like a dissertation in the finer points of Airtable, but I hope you got some value from it, because this is one of those situations that comes up with our clients every once in a while where they want to know, how can we actually structure this in the background to keep track of our pricing information accurately? If you need help automating and integrating your own Airtable solution, don't hesitate to reach out to our website at automationhelpers.com, where we're offering free 30-minute consultations.